After a semester of crippling depression, I came back to school and I was filled with this euphoria that I loved. I felt on top of the world. I had all this confidence and creativity, and I just didn't want it to end. But then I just had so much anxiety and thoughts that were racing like a vortex. I couldn't concentrate at all. I could barely read a paragraph. And eventually it was just wreaking havoc on some of my relationships. I just had a lot of rationality and just a lot of emotion, and it was really painful and confusing when people would walk away from me, and I just felt so lonely and misunderstood, and nobody knew what was going on with me. And eventually these symptoms got worse, and I entered bipolar mania. I didn't sleep for days, and I was rushed to the ER. I entered psychosis. I didn't know who my parents were. I didn't know who I was. I thought I was God. I thought I was going to save the universe with special powers. And then I went to my hospital room, and I was just so full of rage, and the nurses came in every now and again to check on me, and I thought they were spying on me. I would hear petrified screams in the middle of the night of suicidal patients. That was just really scary, and I just paced the hospital and felt like I was on a nightmare, but never woke up. But probably the hardest and most traumatic days there, I was visiting with my mom, and for the past maybe 5 days, I didn't think she was my mom. But then when reality clicked, I cried harder and longer than I ever had before. And in those moments, I was reliving all of the most painful events of my life, and I had rationalized these things never happened. My parents' divorce, my friends and families, their deaths and illnesses, and broken relationships and other things, and I can't believe I survived from it. I don't think there are words and emotions that can really fully describe what I went through, but looking back, I can see God just so clearly, and I'm in awe of how He used my suffering for just creating a masterpiece. I was just so desperate and had no hope, and I just placed my trust eventually in Him, because I saw that I was suffering and had all this anxiety and depression because I was filling my life with things that wouldn't satisfy, from relationships to accomplishments and other things. And I learned that the gaping emptiness in my soul was because I was separated from God. And it was through the sacrifice of Jesus that I could have that restoration, that wholeness. And so I accepted Jesus, and I had so much joy, and I couldn't, it was just incredible. And unfortunately, I went to the hospital again, but I recovered pretty quickly. I was on pretty miraculous drugs, and I should have been just overwhelmed by shame for things I said and did. But nothing else mattered but my heavenly status before God, and He saw that I was loved and full of worth, and so that's the only thing that mattered. And it's amazing, because over the past 4 years, I haven't struggled much with anxiety or depression, and it barely feels like I have a mental illness besides the medications I take. And I still have wounds, I still have broken relationships, but God has been so faithful, and all this healing has come from medications, but also just a militant pursuit of Jesus for His comfort and His love. And I mean, bipolar felt like a death sentence at first, but now I can see that, this journey has brought me so much joy, and I'm just so thankful for the suffering, and it's crazy I can say that, but today I'm just so in awe and very thankful.